Welcome to the beautiful land of contradictions. Arizona, the sixth largest state bordering California in the southwestern corner of the U.S., is primarily known for its low-elevation outstretched arid deserts with bushes and cacti, yet also holds high-elevation terrain such as the Colorado Plateau. From the Grand Canyon to the Painted Desert, Arizona has plenty to offer for locals and tourists alike and is home to a diverse range of plant and animal life. One of the state's most valued treasures is the saguaro cacti. These naturally occurring majestic sculptures can grow between 10 to 50 feet tall, living up to 200 years, and can be seen around Arizona from the Sonoran Desert to the Saguaro National Park. Not only are the cacti an important symbol and tourism attraction in Arizona, they are also a keystone species that play a significant role in preserving the biodiversity of Arizona deserts. Birds, bats, tortoises, javelinas, and coyotes feed on the fruits of the saguaro, while smaller creatures use the cacti as a shelter for protection. Yet, unfortunately, it is highly likely that this precious symbol and keystone species could be threatened by the rapidly warming and drying Arizona climate. There are multiple factors to be considered when observing the changing climate of Arizona, from the long-term change in temperature, precipitation patterns, and monsoon seasons. What seems clear with scientific evidence is that despite short-term fluctuations, there is a steady increase in temperature in Arizona that creates a hotter and drier atmosphere in the state. Temperature change could be monitored through data such as minimum-maximum temperatures, temperature anomalies, and temperatures in the summer versus fall. According to the Arizona State Summary published by NOAA, Arizona has been experiencing a constant rise in extreme temperature weathers, classified as days where the maximum temperature is above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Ever since the 1990s, the number of extremely hot days is always seen to exceed the average number represented by the horizontal black line. Night times, when temperatures usually fall, can also be an indication of long-term increase in temperatures. By comparing these two graphs, one illustrating a record of colder nighttime temperatures and the other of record warm nights, it seems clear that the number of warm nights are increasing at an almost exponential rate since 1995, while the number of colder nights are steadily decreasing. Here is more specific evidence from two weather stations in Arizona, one in Jerome and one in Prescott City. Both illustrate the long-term change in temperature anomalies in July, the middle of the June-August summer period in Arizona, in two different cities. You can see an overall rising trend in minimum temperature anomalies, which are temperatures that lie outside of the long-term average temperature range in July. This implies that the lowest temperature during the summer season is slowly increasing, and there is an overall increase in hotter anomalies since the 1900s. On top of the long-term rise in temperatures, precipitation rates also affect Arizona climates. The 2020 monsoon season was the driest since 1900s, and long-term droughts of more than 20 years are drying out the reservoir water supplies in Arizona. Now, why is Arizona's warming climate an important issue to consider? Going back to the saguaro cacti of Arizona, these species are highly sensitive species, especially to heat and droughts. While some cacti might be adapted to drier environments, extreme heats could easily result in more frequent severe wildfires, and specifically, cacti in the Sonoran Desert below 3,000 feet elevation are not adapted to fires and are extremely vulnerable to fire incidents. This means that the constant increase in temperatures in Arizona could severely impact the health of these precious saguaro cacti. This could also result in a side effect on biodiversity health, because the ecosystem is a closely knit system. With the saguaros being a keystone species of the Arizona environment, the warming impact on cacti could also impact other animal species which depend on this cacti for survival. There are also downstream impacts on the tourism industry. Of course, it would also be devastating to lose the symbol and beauty of viewing these cacti in the wild. The tourism industry has been growing constantly, with visits to state parks increasing by 6.2% in Arizona. And 45.2 million tourists visited Arizona in 2023, and the industry contributed around $4.2 billion for the state. An important industry to keep alive, and another reason to protect these precious species. Fortunately, there has been some efforts to mitigate the effect of these long-term climate change. There is research into climate change impacts on cacti by the National Park, and Arizona has a 2024 extreme heat preparedness plan. These plans seem to be preparing for future extreme heat events. Although the plan tackles aspects such as housing recommendations, emergency response, or cooling centers, it perhaps doesn't tackle the root cause of this constant increase in temperature. Arizona also has a nationwide climate policy called Clean Arizona, which keeps track of Arizona's greenhouse gas emissions to track emissions by sector, with priority measures outlined for each sector. While there are statewide policies that are currently in progress, it is also important to understand the public perception about climate change. The general consensus in Arizona around climate change and its causes seem to be consistent to the average U.S. population. Around 65 to 70% of adults believe that global warming is happening and that it is primarily human-caused. We encourage you viewers, whether you are a local of Arizona or a potential tourist, to also look for more information. It is our responsibility to protect the species that give us pride and joy of being able to enjoy the beauty and magic of such a species in nature.